Does it not trouble you, however, now turned into being a very senior politician, that what you've just said is what one of our great political parties in this country does, and what the membership of that party chose, and the leader that it chose to do something, that is now judged and either accepted or rejected by the men and women in the city?
That does worry me, that I think the Conservative Party's reputation for basic economic competence lies at the heart of our long-term appeal. We are the most successful political party in the world over several centuries, and we lose that at our absolute peril. And so Jeremy Hunt has got a huge task, which he's got to get a long way along in the next 2 weeks to restore that. But restoring that is very important. But it's not impossible,
no.
Because we know that if you present a budget where the numbers add up, then people will think, OK, fine, and hopefully we can then have a period of stability. Tobias
Ellwood was on the programme yesterday, and maybe bearing in mind what we said about what Robert Halford had said, Tobias perhaps nuanced it slightly. And he said to me, at least this crazy right-wing experimental economics has been seen off, close quotes. Had a go at the experiment, didn't work, now been rejected. But for the members of your party who voted for Liz Truss, that means a low-tax, cut spending, smaller state dash for growth is now off the agenda. Tried it, didn't like it, City rejected it, didn't work.
It's a question of timing. There is a time to cut taxes, and we all want to see smaller states, bigger citizens. Every Conservative wants to see taxes down. But I would remind people that the budget often people think of as the Nigel Lawson budget, the radical Nigel Lawson budget in the late 1980s. That was 9 years after Margaret Thatcher came to power. She had taken a huge number of very painful decisions and gone through very many painful things.
Including raising some taxes.
Before she judged the time was right to have a radical tax-cutting budget. And broadly speaking, it worked. And Britain was by then growing more prosperous and had a very, very prosperous 1990s, partly because of that. So it's not the ultimate aim that any Conservative would dispute. It's the timing of it, and that's a matter of political judgment.
Yeah, and absolutely fascinating. I remind folk of what I said at the very beginning when you were last on talking about Kwasi's budget, when you said it's about values, it's not just about money. But to what extent is Jeremy Hunt's incredibly difficult decision about the indexation of benefits for those at the lowest end of the earnings scale, whether they are increased as traditionally they would have been by inflation, which is much higher and therefore by definition much more expensive, or by the rise in average earnings, which to many working people who pay taxes might seem fairer, but is pretty damned hard on those who are at the bottom end of the spectrum?
Yes, I know.
Is that a key acid test for him?
I think it is, and I said publicly that I think in the current climate and with all the difficulties people are facing, that benefits should go up in line with inflation, as a previous administration promised. So I think that will be a kind of litmus test for compassionate conservatism. And I say that knowing that that's putting an added difficulty on the calculations inside the Treasury, that means something else will have to go. It may mean that another tax has to rise. I mean, for what it's worth, to say something on the other side, I think it would probably be sensible to at least defer the cut in the income tax rate. I think that would save a significant chunk of money. But there will have to be other tough decisions made on October 31st. Yeah.
My final question to you, because you've been very candid and very clear on the ideological tussles that are going on, and I'm going to come back to get Aubrey's reaction to it. I mean, the newspapers are great for people like the three of us, and I hope some of the good people at home who love a good story and a good bit of gossip and what have you. But whether it's parachuting Rishi in with Penny Mordaunt moved up to the Foreign Office, or Ben Wallace, who didn't even run, coming in from Defence as being the solution to it all, do you give any credence, as a very experienced and safe pair of hands in these matters, to any of that? Or is what we've got right now, Truss hanging on and Hunt trying to pick up the slack, what should now last for the foreseeable future?
I think it should last for more than the foreseeable future. That's what I want to see. You say it's great for the three of us. It's not great for me at all. I'm not a commentator. I am an active player in this, and as such, I want this government, this Prime Minister, to succeed. And to do that, we need a budget that convinces everyone at the end of this month, and then a period of stability so that we can carry on doing some of the other things. One of your texters said we need to get back to the 2019 manifesto.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good stuff in that manifesto. It was very popular. I would very much like to concentrate on those areas of policy more than this immediate crisis.